Since 2017, China has provided a total of 4,000 tons of rice to Namibia. As a result, the deeply moved Namibians actually handed over the mining rights of local uranium mines to China. Such an exchange is surprising. After all, uranium ore is known as the soul of nuclear weapons and is the most important raw material for nuclear research. At that time, after the end of World War II, the United States and the Soviet Union fought for many years for the uranium retained by Germany. In order to monopolize uranium raw materials to the greatest extent, especially nuclear technology, on the eve of the end of World War II in Europe, the U.S. military sent an espionage team Arthos to try to collect scientific and technological intelligence and materials left by Germany from various parts of liberated Europe. After the end of World War II, the United States even ordered to block the sale of uranium raw materials, prohibiting exports to the Soviet Union and China. So what exactly happened to Namibia? How does China help it? How important are Namibia's uranium mines to China? Namibia is located in southwestern Africa, on the fringes of several major powers. It achieved independence on March 21, 1990, becoming the last country on the African continent to gain national independence. Years of war have taken a toll on Namibia's mineral exports. Due to the war in Namibia's uranium mines, the production of uranium has decreased, which has caused Namibia's exports to drop sharply again after the uranium price plummeted, affecting Namibia's export revenue. Its agricultural production was also severely affected, causing the famine to sweep across the country. Even in 2017, exactly 20 years after the end of the war, hunger and poverty are still the main themes in Namibia. In Africa, where the population is soaring, Namibia's population is only more than 2 million. But even with such a small population, the country cannot afford to feed it. When Namibia was anxious about this, China extended a helping hand. China regularly conducts food aid to them every year, and by 2021, a total of 4,000 tons of food has been aided. But with this help, which is equivalent to only 30 million yuan, China has successfully obtained the local uranium mining rights. The uranium ore is an important raw material for the production of nuclear weapons, and there is no substitute for it. So, Namibia's return is beyond everyone's expectations. As we all know, as an experimental discipline, the most basic link of nuclear physics lies in raw materials. In the last century, China's demand for uranium has also continued to increase, and uranium has become the most cherished item in the Chinese scientific community. In April 1960, Chinese nuclear physicist Yang Fujie sent a letter to Beijing, in which he pointed out that compared with overcoming the technical difficulties of nuclear fission, the most urgent task is to speed up the exploration and mining of uranium ore, as well as the purification of uranium ore. In addition, Yang Fujie also believes that China's situation in this field was extremely unfavorable at that time, because there was no clear uranium reserve data. It was not only an extreme shortage, but the output was not yet determined. What's more serious is that at that time, there was no proven uranium-rich ore deposit in China at that time. The situation is critical. In July of the same year, the Chinese Academy of Sciences established a committee on uranium issues. At the same time, an exploration team was formed at the meeting to go to northwest China to investigate uranium mines in the autumn of that year. However, the results of the preliminary exploration were not satisfactory. At the wrap-up meeting, the report stated that, despite the larger volume of ore, no more than 140 tons of ore was technically available. Therefore, Chinese experts decided to continue the exploration of uranium ore, and in the past 2 years, the uranium ore reserves in this area were proved to be 600 tons. However, the Soviet Union repeatedly provoked the border, and the sudden unrest interrupted the process of uranium exploration. A group of prominent nuclear physicists turned to the military industry, and China's search for uranium process has been greatly delayed. And this change has also made Yang's concerns a reality, namely, China does not yet have a large uranium raw material base, and the reserves are seriously insufficient. In his letter to Beijing, Deng Jiaxian talked about the current difficulties. The progress of solving the problem is slow, and the problem of uranium raw material reserves still exists. I am afraid that only 10 tons of uranium salts can be obtained, which is completely unable to meet the needs of the uranium graphite reactor. It can be seen that the road to finding uranium is extraordinarily difficult. Since it is difficult to open source in China, why not import it from abroad? At that time, the United Kingdom and the United States not only had large reserves of uranium, but also high content. For example, the Katanga province of Congo, occupied by the United States, produces the world's largest and best quality uranium ore, with a uranium oxide content of 65% to 75%. However, as early as the outbreak of World War II, the British and American governments began to pay attention to the issue of nuclear materials, the main purpose of which was to prevent Germany from developing nuclear weapons before them. However, with the landing of Normandy in 1944, Germany's defeat was set, and the United Kingdom and the United States successively signed uranium ore acquisition agreements with Brazil, Portugal, and other countries. As of December 1945, the United Kingdom and the United States had controlled 97% of the world's uranium-producing countries' output. Obviously, the purpose of maintaining the monopoly of nuclear materials by the United Kingdom and the United States is self-evident at this time, namely, to prevent the Soviet Union and China from developing nuclear weapons. After the disintegration of the Soviet Union, the United States continued to impose a uranium blockade on China and resolutely refused to export a single milligram of uranium. For many years, China has never disclosed its domestic uranium mines, and many Chinese are worried that China's nuclear research will be stalled. Therefore, the news of Namibia's transfer of uranium mining rights has made countless people ecstatic. Compared with all uranium mines in the United States, Namibia's uranium mines are not only large in quantity and high in quality, but also have lower development costs due to earlier development and complete infrastructure. Even though the United Kingdom and the United States have banned countries from exporting uranium ore, because of Namibia's firm attitude, the West has nothing to do about it. After all, Namibia is going to starve to death, so does it still care about the threat of the United States? Since then, China has not only provided food aid to Namibia, but also helped Namibia rebuild its medical system. In the case of infant mortality, Namibia has about 191 deaths per 1,000 infants. Of the infants who survived, 320 per 1,000 died before the age of 5, one of the highest rates of infant and child mortality in any country in the world. In 2019, China dispatched a medical team to help Namibia build 48 new pharmacies and 25 drug warehouses. It also established the Namibia-China Malaria Prevention and Control Center, held short-term training courses and technical training courses for officials in the field of health, donated a large number of drugs and medical equipment every year, and dispatched a resident medical team to Namibia. As a result of these efforts, Namibia's neonatal mortality rate has been reduced by 20% in just 1 year. In the future, China will also help Namibia achieve self-sufficiency in food and help it get on the right track. Okay, that's all for today. Please put your comments below and share your insightful ideas with other people. Hot Topics time to explore the wisdom behind the news. We will see you in the next video.